friends, I'm Kaylee. Let's talk about love and relationships. Humanity, we are in an exciting time, in a brand new evolutionary cycle that is changing the nature of reality and the nature of relationships and how we do relationships. We're always in relationship to all of life, and we're in relationship to ourselves and others. So it's imperative that we start to spark some awareness around how we relate to ourselves and with others. Ultimately, during this transformational time period, we all need to look at how we love and be willing to love better. Now, humanity has a wound around love. We have cultivated over the years love and loveless behaviors, and I think we're all really confused on what that love really means. See, we mistake love for fairy tales, fake romances, lust, and all sorts of other unconscious ideas and patterns that keep us thinking we're in love, when really we're seeking love to fill a deeper void. Ultimately, during this transformational time period, we all need to look at how we love, how we perceive love, how we receive love, and choose to love better. See, we all have wounds around love and around the heart space. And there's no doubt that past generations have created lots of stories and drama and ideas around what love is and how to relate. And, depending on how you were raised, you were taught love was a certain way from our parents and modeled certain behaviors, and unconsciously that's all running within you and creating your love stories in your life. So there's this inherent need to spark new awareness and to really understand love at a new and deeper level. So it's time to revolutionize love and how we do relationship and think of relationships. The old ways are dying, and we have to learn from the past and be willing to change in order to move into a brighter future and to have more loving and fulfilling relationships in our lives and for the sake of new generations too. So here's the thing. The past decade and more, many generations have been on the rise of divorce, right? And we've created all sorts of patterns around abandonment, what we think love and relationships are, and we've also sabotaged relationships and, taught the children all sorts of bullshit around relating. So there's a need for correction now to understand life and to make better choices than past generations have. To do that, we need to heal the drama, the dysfunction, the trauma, and more that's keeping us from falling into love, opening our heart, and developing realness and real forms of relating. So I'm talking about creating more intimacy, softening into the heart space, and realizing what love is and what it isn't, and recognizing our own emotional attachments and fantasies around love and what we think it is. So there's a new trend happening, and it's the rise and the need for the individual. And what I'm ultimately talking about is real, true sovereignty, right? The best relationship that we have is the one with ourselves. And it's no joke that, self-love is the biggest lesson in life, and also one of the biggest challenges we all have, especially with all our blinders and conditioning around what love is and what we think self-love is. And a lot of people think that love is being in a relationship. And a lot of people make their life about having a relationship or ships and make that their primary focus. But the journey of life is so much more. So we've been conditioned as a society to want to have the American dream. And with that, we think that our life is about finding the perfect mate and usually make it all about that. When in fact, life is so much richer and deeper and much more meaningful. So we're now in this new evolutionary time period where we're all going to need to confront ourselves, our heart space, and take the journey from the head into the heart to cultivate real love, authenticity, and create the energy of what that all is. And with that, it means healing ourselves in new ways, new modalities, and learning our deeper soul lessons to ultimately rise in love and rise together to transform the old paradigm into a much better way of relating. So we can use tools like the yoga philosophy and yoga sciences and astrology and numerology and tons more to really look at the evolution of humanity and consider where we're at now and what's going on in the collective and within our unconscious, right? So we're always on our individual journey and our individual evolution, and everyone has different lessons in this lifetime. So where you are now may not be where you are tomorrow or in the future, but we can use this information to understand where we're all going as a whole so that we can all unify and work together to create more love, not only in our own lives, but together as a society. Relationships are our greatest teachers and our greatest lessons. And everybody's unique, but we all meet different kinds of soulmates and love in a lifetime. And our parents show us what love is from a young age, so we also adopt ideas and beliefs and patterns around love and consciously or unconsciously carry them into our adult years. And just because you're older does not mean you're wiser. And just because you have a mate doesn't mean you actually found love. What we need to do is understand ourselves and our individual journey and the deeper lessons to become more aware of what we're choosing and creating in life and in relationship. So when we look at the astrology, we can see that in the next year or so, through 2023 to 2024, we are going to have an internal battle and a need to find our own individual sovereignty and identity and to know what that is. And with that, it's going to be challenging to have to face your own fears around yourself and abandonment wounds, and to grow into a higher perspective of who you really are and who you are not. Folks, that means evolution, and evolution from a place of love. May not be easy. So we're moving into a new paradigm that is more Aquarius-like. It's about humanity. It's about working together. It's about developing higher values and morals like truth, honesty, transparency, and integrity, kindness, love. And to get there, we're all together taking baby steps along the way to transition and evolve out of the patterns and the ways of the past. So we can very briefly look at the past and understand how our system has been set up, right? The control dynamics, the government stuff, how we've been taught, our educational system, all the things in the stuff. And that's all getting dismantled because we're all needing to rise into a more loving way of being. And that means that we, the people, get to take responsibility in whether we're going to change or whether we're going to stay in the same paradigm and ways of the past. In the yoga philosophy, they say that the highest form of yoga is relationships. And subscribe to my channel for more videos on that at a later time. So basically, when we're talking about relationship and self-awareness, we need to understand and unify within ourselves and externally with others. And from a yogic perspective, it's a system of integrating the masculine and feminine aspects of ourselves. And with that, we also have to confront our wounds and the darker shadow aspects of ourselves. Not always easy. And in an ignorant society, most of us run and escape rather than facing ourselves. And a lot of people will do whatever it takes to face their own selves, the unconscious ugly aspects of themselves too, right? So with that, we've developed into a society that chooses love over facing insecurities. And we all relate in different ways, and as we evolve, we pick up different patterns and become different people and personas, right? So ultimately, when we're talking about love and real relating, we need to consider our emotional attachments to love and how we hide in love rather than choosing to evolve and mature for love. And a lot of people choose love for security and use people for pleasure. So we have to become aware of what we're thinking, what's causing us to stay in wrong relationships, and what's keeping us from evolving into a healthier and better relationship, not only with ourselves, but with all of life and others. And what I found is that it's our insecurities that will ultimately keep us from becoming the best version of ourselves. And of course, it's all unconscious. And before we can get the relationship and the fairy tale and the true love, we need to redefine our aspects of ourselves and consider what love is and who can really be in a loving partnership with us forever. I mean, why else do you think there's so much rise in, different forms of relationship these days. It's because we all want freedom. And with love, we can choose to relate consciously or unconsciously. So over the next few years and more and beyond, we're all going to be confronting our shadow and how we relate to the world, to society, and to life. We're going to need to face our issues around codependency, insecurity, and false aspects and ways of relating. And life is a journey, so it may not be now, but it may be future years from now where you hit the divorce, you hit the rock bottom, and life crumbles and falls apart, you lose your job, and you have to define a better way of living, loving, and relating. And what we're all going to be forced to do is to figure out how to become individuals and sovereign, loving individuals. The power is love, and it's up to us all to create it and to embody it and to be able to perceive it as well. Now, what I mean is we're also going to need to learn how to stand on our own 2 feet and how to form security within ourselves. And with that, I also mean supporting ourselves. I mean, can you imagine what it would be like if your mother and father supported you throughout your entire life, including your adult years? You barely had to work, and then you used all your energy to chase relationships and to find a relationship because your inherent need was wanting a baby. What kind of a message does that bring to our children? See, we all have hopes, dreams, and wishes when it comes to love and relating. There's a human need to want connection and an inner insecurity that craves security to know that we'll never be alone and to avoid our other feelings of loneliness and fear of loneliness, rather. And whatever our deep desires are, we will create it in our reality, which is why we need self-awareness of what we're choosing and what we're creating. And the power is love. So we can learn through relationships and start to form a deeper understanding of certain connections that come into our lifetime, what they're here to teach us, how they're meant to help us, maybe even why they're meant to hurt us. And we can learn to open our heart in a more conscious, mature fashion. And right there with that, we have to heal the underlying other things that may be tormenting us and causing us to need a relationship before anything else. What do I mean? I mean lust, insecurity, fear, and all those deeper, lower shadow aspects that a lot of us don't even want to confront. We have to end the hatred and the self-hatred and all the ways we project that and point fingers and blame other people. We have to start with ourselves to heal the relationship we have with ourselves and the relationship we have with others. And as a woman, I will say that I know there are many women, and I'm sure men too, who will do whatever it takes to have an easy life. What do I mean by that? They search and seek out for other people, need attention, and will do whatever it takes to have that and gain security and needing to not do it themselves or create it for themselves. And that is how we fall into codependent behaviors and toxic relationships. When we ourselves, the individual, cannot support ourselves, love ourselves, be ourselves, and fall into these other old paradigm patterns of abandonment and more. So it's time to love and heal our wounds around love and the heart space. I mean, could you imagine being like 39 and finding a young 23-year-old and getting her pregnant right away and having a baby? It's crazy what we do for love and to meet our needs, right? Absolutely crazy. I mean, in your low 20s, you barely even know who you are. And as a woman, I will say, it's easy to attach to a guy, especially if they're going to take care of us. So we have to form better relationships and be mindful of what we're creating and the new people and children we're bringing into the world and what we're teaching them. And the highest form of love is first within yourself and healing those unconscious aspects, the wounds, the disconnections, and forming reconnection and real ways of relating. And that goes for yourself, your friend group, your family, and modifying behaviors and ultimate transformation to become a more human loving individual and to deal with the darkness. See, in life we have karma, and it's our choice whether we continue on the wheel and recreate the past and the patterns and more, or we can get off the wheel and find a better way. And in this time period, people will be meeting deeper soul connections. People and relationships that tear on your heart in deeper ways, not only romantically. And we have to be mindful not to mistake lust and passion for love. And we have to be mindful of what love really is and who we are and what kind of love can last forever. So for real sovereignty, we have to be able to afford our life, take care of ourselves, and not be like a little wounded, immature child. We have to rise, mature, evolve, and become fun, human-loving individuals. And then the freedom is ours. What we do with it. And hopefully, we're being great parents and partners to one another and emotionally opening up, healing our heart wound, and being vulnerable and intimate and having real connections and relationships and conversations and getting rid of this bulldozing, blocking culture that we have developed. And from a place of love, we can also do divorces better, parent in better ways, be mindful with our words and know our actions have consequences, and we can empathize and get rid of the fears and all the guards around the block that keep us believing and thinking otherwise. Because the future is love, but it's up to us all individually and collectively to start to create it, embody it, and connect to it. And yoga and numerology are amazing sciences that can also help us understand who we are, what our energy is, who other people are, and our connections and relationships, and what they mean and what they're here to teach us. Hit me up on Instagram if you'd like to learn more about that. And if you'd like a relationship reading, send me a message. So humanity, we're in a time where it's necessary to rise in love. Rise within ourselves, confront those fears, those limitations, the beliefs, the self-sabotaging patterns, the abandonment, the fears, and more. It's time to rise in love. And we can choose to rise together or apart. It's up to us all. But we all get to love better, and we can love better, and to open our heart space to a better way of loving, relating, and being. So just because you meet someone you like, or you desperately want to get married or have a baby, doesn't mean that person's meant to be your person forever. We have to understand karma, what our souls chose, what our own mission is in life and our purpose. We have to understand relationships and also how we can heal and transform to love better, to live better, and to love one another better. And the old ways won't work. And we're going to be witnessing a dismantling of relationships that are built on the false paradigm. And we're going to see relationships rise that are built on this new paradigm of love. And this is an evolutionary process. So the timing is on an individual level, which is why I do encourage you to get your own numerology and astrology chart read. And to be mindful in the relationships that do come into your life, because they're going to be deeper, they're going to be more passionate, they're going to be more from a soul level. And especially for new generations, they all have to be mindful of what's going on, because we will mistake the first connection we make for love rather than understanding how we get to grow in love and for love together and what the relationships are meant to teach us. So be mindful of the cycles and the seasons, and hey, do your best to go love and be the love, and confront the loveless and dark and wicked aspects of yourself that may be holding you back from embodying the highest heart and living in alignment and more in a reformed and transformed state of love. So this new revolution is one of love. It's one of awakening. It's one of understanding. And it's one of learning to embody empathy and healthy ways of relating and empathizing. It's about letting our guards down and our defenses, understanding our triggers, dealing with our drama and trauma, and also doing the best we can to make the peace, create the peace, and live in more loving mindsets and manners. And a lot of people are blocked off in the heart space. So it's up to us now and new generations to reform the ways of the past and the pain, and to love better, and to develop in a more conscious way of living and being, and to know that our relationship with ourselves is priority, but we're in relationship to all of life. And by understanding our own journey, our cycles and our seasons, we can heal our inner wounds and also embody a more feminine and loving way of living and being. I'm Kaylee. Leave your comments below and take a like to this video. Share the love. Cheers and namaste.